Welcome back, everybody, to 2022 to Attract and Stand Out. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley, and I am so excited to have you guys back. Welcome to the new year. I am here today with Tiffany Lovell. She is a highly sought after mental health expert specializing in the field of cognitive behavioral therapy. After 10 years in her field and an international best-selling author, she is able to bring knowledge and compassion to each program she offers her clients. Tiffany, I am so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. Well, welcome into 2022. We were just talking beforehand. It's been a fun year already for both of us, I think.
Yes.
And so I know for myself, I'm glad just to be here and excited to see what the new year is going to bring. It definitely did not start out the way that I had planned. I had this vision of excitement and clean slate and new year and all this energy in December to start the year off. And then I wasn't feeling great during the holidays. And the first week of January, I was not working. And I'm glad to be back. And how are you doing?
Yeah, I felt very similar. Like I envisioned calendars and Post-its in my planner and all the things. And New Year's found me in my bed, not feeling great and just trying to recover from Christmas junk that was in my, chest and lungs. And I'm happy to really now be back. And somebody messaged me yesterday in the carpool lane at school and said, "It's good to see you among the living again." I'm like, it's good to be among the living again.
You're like, yeah. I'm back and I'm on this side of the dirt. It's all good.
Yes.
2022 cannot bring anything any more crazier than starting the year off.
No, I just felt like it was almost like a cleanse, like when you juice for 2 weeks or something and you just feel really awful. I feel like that was kind of the end of the year, beginning of the year. I did my cleanse. Now I'm ready to really rock and roll and get things done. So
nothing better than an all natural cleanse.
Right. My skinny jeans are all really loose and I lost probably 15 pounds. So it really kind of was like that.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, we'll take it however we get it, right?
Yes.
At least we didn't have to drink celery juice for weeks on end, which I do sometimes because I'm crazy like that. And I make one of my girlfriends and I'll juice for us and I'll bring her the juice. And I'm like, all right, we're drinking this. We're going to do it for 2 weeks straight. And I always feel really good at the end of it. But I'm by day 5, I'm like, oh my God, if I have to drink, I'm plugging my nose, I'm chugging it. I can't do this anymore. So if we can do it without adding all the things that we don't want to drink, we'll take it.
My juicer is a little dusty. She's probably feeling a little bit abandoned, rejected. I probably should dust her off and pull her out and put some celery in it.
Yeah, we should probably keep going with it. Maybe let's challenge each other to a juice off.
There we go. Yes. So if we get to end of January,
that healthy energy.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Deal. We'll do that.
Let's do it. Well, I'm excited that you're here and I am excited to hear your story. As you know, I love storytelling. In my business, I teach storytelling to help business owners really stand out and let people see them in a different light, because there's so many people that do what we do, but when we can share our story and show up and just share our message in a beautiful way that only we truly can, because it's our story, it's not somebody else's. It's really powerful. So I'm excited. I keep saying I'm just excited today because apparently I'm using the word excited so much that I'm just.
You're just excited to be back.
Yes. I want to hear your story. Take us back to Tiffany in the beginning of this entrepreneurial journey. What did that look like? How did you get here? Tell us all the things.
Well, I really think things started when I was a kid. My mom, she always is like, oh my gosh, don't tell that story. But I really wanted braces. And my mom's like, we can't afford braces. You're just going to have to wait. And I'm like, well, what if I come up with the money on my own? Can we do it? And she's like, yeah, you're 13. If you can come up with the money for braces, we'll do that. And I went door to door in my neighborhood asking if anybody would be willing to sponsor my braces. And when my mom got a call from a neighbor saying, your daughter just came asking for money for her braces, my mom was mortified. And they decided to just figure out how to pay for the braces themselves instead of having me go. So I always have kind of had this drive of, how can I figure it out? If there's a problem, how can I figure it out? What's next? It was never too big. It was always just about, no, there's another way. Okay, what else? What else? What else? And I just kind of became obsessed with solving problems. And I think as an entrepreneur, we absolutely have to be in that space because we never know what we're going to run into, whether it's a marketing issue, whether it's a, team member issue, whether it's a financial issue. Like there's just always going to be something that comes up. And if we can be in that space of really being obsessed with finding solutions, we will always be able to move through the things and nothing is going to feel, unsurmountable. We'll just be able to, okay, this is the next thing. So we're working on this. This is what we're dealing with. And okay, now what are all the things we need to do or look at to be able to dissect this? And so that really started my journey. I did a lot of different direct sales along the way. And I think dabbling in that was kind of helpful to see different ways businesses work, different ways people work within those businesses. But it was about 10 years ago that I really felt like there was a different direction I needed to go, that it wasn't just about a duplication strategy in network marketing or direct sales, but it was about the individual. And we could teach duplication over and over and over again. But really, if we were not meeting the needs of the individual, we were missing the mark to be able to help them be successful. And so I kind of pulled away from that and really started focusing on cognitive behavioral things, on neurolinguistic programming, like how brains really work, so that I could focus on the one and help them be successful. And then I can focus on the next one and that make it more individualized versus this group collective, okay, check off all the boxes and then you'll be successful. And it was absolutely that way. And then it moved into this space of really being able to support people to get off the therapy couch. And so it kind of transitioned from business coaching into more mental health and being able to really empower people to see that you don't have to be sitting on that couch for the rest of your life relying on this person to get you through every single week. Like you really already have the stuff inside of you. And it was about being able to teach them, empower them to then go out. And so that's where I'm at right now, is in that space, which I have a lot of business owners still that are my clients, but I also have a lot of stay-at-home moms, a lot of, people that would love to start a business, but don't know how because they're kind of stuck in this mindset, mental health nonsense. And so it's been a really beautiful just journey and experience in, started out with braces and now here I am, like straight teeth and ready to just serve in a variety of different ways. I mean, I work with people with trauma and addiction and anxiety and depression and just feeling like my life is good, but why aren't I happy? I mean, I just have a lot of clients that are that way. And really being able to make it super individualized for them to be able to understand how they work, that this isn't a one size fits all. It's how do you work? How are you able to show up? What's different about you that makes you work so that we can help you be your best self and show up in the world the way you were meant to. So I love it. It's been a really fun ride.
I love the journey that you've been on because you really you've tested the waters in lots of different areas to see like, do I like this? Like in so many people I talk to, like we can have passions about lots of different things. We can do things that we enjoy, but maybe don't light us up. But we kind of go on this journey and of self-discovery is what comes to mind is like testing all the waters, seeing what works, and then really finding our true calling. And you could tell, like as you shared your journey, how you lit up as you started talking about the work that you do today and the impact of the work that you have, because especially right now, like we're almost 2 years, which is crazy that we've been in this pandemic for that long. And I can only imagine some of the conversations and the way, like the support that you've been able to give, and how I know how needed you are in a time like this when so many people, even like I consider myself like pretty happy. Like I'm like nothing really, like I can bounce back really quickly. Like I might have my days where I'm, sad or feeling a little bit lower, but I can get out of that on my own pretty easily. But over the holidays and just being sick and different things like that, it was really isolating and I felt really alone. And I was like, wow, like if I'm feeling like this, somebody who can bounce back really quickly and knows how to kind of self-coach myself through these situations, like the impact of, like you hear so many stories of people that have just gone through so many hard times. And it was kind of, it was a real like check for myself, like, wow, like this is, if I'm feeling this, so many other people like are really feeling it. And now I can see it in a different light. And so I know how valuable, like, just, having somebody to talk to, somebody to like help pull you out when you're not feeling at your highest
Yeah.
can be
One
so
of my, I do what's called the Brilliance Academy, and I teach people how to do what I do. So they go through this academy process where they learn cognitive behavioral therapy, they learn hypnosis, they learn NLP. And one of my students in there, she was feeling a little bit insecure, and she said, I just don't think that, I'll be able to reach anybody the way you do, or I just don't think there's enough room for me in this space. And I was like, listen, sis, the sky is big enough for us all to fly. You do not need to worry about that. It's about finding your people. There's plenty of people out there that need support and need to be loved on and to be helped through whatever they're going through. You don't have to worry about that. It's just about you being able to just laser focus on who are you meant to show up and serve. Because like you just said, this past 2 years has been incredibly challenging for people. And some people show it, but some people don't. Like, some people just don't show that they're hurting. And yet they're the ones that probably need the most support, because they're just like teetering on this edge of being okay versus totally falling apart.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons I love to have these conversations, because the more we talk about it, the more we normalize it. People,
Right.
it's so easy to, go to the grocery store, and when the cashier at checkout asks how you're doing, you're like, oh, I'm great. Everything's wonderful. Like,
Right.
we just always say, oh, I'm good. We're so trained by society to be like, oh, we're fine. Everything's good. I got this.
Fine.
The
Yep.
world's really hard right now, but I'm doing really good and I'm handling it really well. And then we walk back in our house and we like completely deflate. And we don't, because so many people put on that front, we don't always know how many people are actually truly hurting. And when I notice for myself, the more I talk about what I'm going through and how, we all live life. We all have things happen. You don't have to like share all the things with everybody. I'm not a big advocate of like, woe is me and let me tell you all my drama. But there's definitely a time and a place when you're in a conversation and you're, connecting with somebody, letting them know like, oh, I see you and I feel the same way and you're not alone. Like, that goes a long way, especially when it comes to our mental state. And I think it's beautiful how many people are saying like, hey, I'm going to therapy. Like, and that's a normal sentence now. There's not shame. There should never be shame behind that, because all of us have gone through stuff, whether we want to, like, not everybody has big T trauma versus little T trauma. Like, some of it's different, but we still go through situations, and we all have emotions and feelings, and we go through loss and, relationship highs and lows and those different things. And when I think the more we normalize, like, hey, I'm talking to somebody, or I have a coach or a mentor, or I go to a support group, or I'm going to church and meeting up with the women in the community to talk about what's coming up. That's powerful when more people share that they're doing that, because it gives permission to everybody else to start to speak up and say, hey, I'm there too, and I feel this and I'm going through it, and it's going to be okay, because we've got each other's back.
Yeah. No, I think that community, that tribe, it's one of the things that I teach, but that's feminine energy. And when we live in this place of like masculine energy, and women are living in masculine energy, we miss the connection, we miss the community, we miss the tribe, all of that like healing that happens from being together. We really miss out on it because we're just stuck over here in this masculine, get it done, fix it, make it better, check it off the list kind of energy. That's not where we're meant to thrive. We're just showing up there because we have to survive the world. But if we could move back over into that feminine space where we were created to be, man, it would be amazing what could happen.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought up like the masculine versus the feminine, because you see it everywhere you go, how we're expected, as women, we compare ourselves to men and how they've been out there growing their businesses and how they show up and speak on a stage, or like how they carry their self. And we're like, oh, well, how people define success is based off of that masculine energy. And so there's almost like this sense of like, am I doing it right? Or shame when we try to show up just as ourselves. And the more that we step into that, the more powerful we actually are. And you can totally see women light up when they just like accept themselves for who they are and go with that feminine approach and that connection and that really, I think that's why, especially during COVID, the relationships have been able to grow so much deeper. Like the roots, I feel like, are able to go so much further because we're taking the time to slow down and really build deeper, stronger connections versus, just trying to, surface level everything, whether it's, networking for our businesses. Like, maybe this is just me, but I remember 15 years ago when I started my business, I almost like butterfly connected with people. I'm like, oh, it's great to meet you. And it's great to meet you. And oh, let me meet you, this person over here. And let me introduce this person over here. And I was great at connecting and people knew who I was, but they never got a chance to really know me because
Right.
I wanted to know everybody in the room because I thought that I would be like, if everybody knows my name, kind of like Norm and Cheers, if everybody knows my name when I walk into a networking event or Norm into the bar, then people are going to know me. They're going to see me. They're going to be able to refer business. And then I had this aha moment like 2 years into my business that I actually wasn't serving myself trying to know everybody. It was when I slowed down a little bit and like stopped and had a conversation and shared more of myself and what I've gone through and how I came here, that those roots got deeper. And that's when people were like, oh, like you need to meet this person and you should connect with this person, or, hey, I need you. And that's when like the transition really, like I saw the transition for myself. And I think I've noticed that just over the past 2 years, like so many of us were wanting to, know everybody, do everything, do all the things, hashtag all the things, that's such,
Right. Yeah.
like, you're volunteering at the school for the PTA, you're volunteering in the community center, you're running your business, you're making homemade dinner every single night and fresh baked cookies on the weekend. And you're doing all those things, but you're never really taking time for yourself. And when we slow that down, so much power can happen when we just kind of get still and let ourselves root for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's something to be said about really just grounding yourself in what's really most important. And I think a lot of people have discovered that over the past couple of years, what's really most important. And I mean, in a pandemic, I tripled my income last year versus what I did the previous year when people were saying it can't be done. Nobody's spending money. Nobody needs this kind of services. Nobody needs this. But I absolutely did that. And it was because I was super grounded. I was aligned in what was really most important. It wasn't all about the bells and whistles and the frills of all the marketing and all the things, right? It was just about, I'm going to show up super intentional and I'm going to serve.
Yeah.
And there was value in that. And so my business grew astronomically, which was just beautiful to be able to be in that space.
Yeah. And that's what people, I think that's what I'm seeing with my clients right now too. Like when they're sitting back and showing up how people are actually needing them right now. And especially the work that you do, like there's a super beautiful timeliness right now that like for what you're doing and how you're serving. And then when you do it from this place of like authentically just showing up and sharing some of your stories and the mess that we live in sometimes too, like, right, like here's what I'm going through, people can resonate and they see that and they're like, okay, like I can share myself with this person, I can make the change that I need to because they just see you showing up in such a beautiful way. So I can imagine how that connection goes hand in hand with like the profits from the year on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really opened myself up to be vulnerable to my clients this past year. So I'm in the middle of going through a divorce. And for a long time, I kept personal things really personal and just worked with clients. Like it was just kind of sunshine and roses. Like I'm here to serve you and this is how great life can be. But this past year, I really opened myself up to just share that with them and talk about, look, you can go through something really yucky and still be successful. Like I had my best year of my business while I was in the middle of this really yucky, like personal experience. And to be able to show people, yeah, it's hard and I cry and I am sad and life is hard sometimes, but I also can still massively create and I can still really show up in my calling. I can be a great mom. I'm a super fun neighbor. Like you can have both. And that's where I think as a society and culture, just people, we think it's either or. I'm either happy or I'm sad. I'm either successful or I'm a failure. But real life is you can have both. You can have struggle, but you can also really have beautiful things. You can be in pain, but you can also be really grateful. You can have adversity, but you can also be massively financially successful. So we need to get into this place where we realize, oh, I can have more than one thing right now. Just because it's hard, I could also have things be good, and recognize that
It's
life
that ebb
can
and
be.
flow. It's the ebb and
Yes,
flow of it, right? Where
absolutely.
like you're gonna it's gonna be, there's
Yeah,
gonna be days that are roller coastery, but some days are gonna be high, some days are gonna be low, and we can show up and honor that space. I think it's a,
yeah,
I know for myself when I honor, like, oh, I'm just feeling a little bit tired today, or I'm not, I just need like a quieter day to like go inward and connect with
yeah,
myself. And the next day I might, or even the next hour, sometimes like I'm back to like chipper and, joking
right.
around and having fun with things. And it's honoring and respecting that we're going to go through those emotions and that we just are okay with it. We don't have to like judge ourselves
Yep.
in those moments. What would you say has been one of the most challenging struggles as you've grown your business? You can talk even like back when you started, or even like over this time where you've been growing, like what have some of the pains been for you, like as far as the business growth or challenges from marketing or.
Well, I mean, even deeper than that was really feeling like I was worthy of the growth. Like I had really just hit the glass ceiling for so long and was really consistently generating, this amount, but really wanting to break through that glass ceiling. And then once I did the very first time, um, I had like a $30,000 month. And when I hit that $30,000 month, I was like, what if I'm not a good mom because I just made this much money? And what if, like, it was a lot of worthiness, like mind stuff, that I think was the biggest obstacle of being able to move through, so that I could continually do that, right? Because if I could do it once, I could do it again, and I could do it again and again, which that is how last year went for me, is really being able to work through that worth stuff. Um, I think other things have been challenging, like learning roles for team and learning who I needed and who I didn't, and different systems and operations. All of those come, and there's different struggles and elements to that. But I really think that for entrepreneurs, their biggest issue is always themselves.
Mm,
Like they're the ones that are going to get in their own way, and they're going to cause the biggest problems for their business. Their belief, their worth, their identity, their stories that they tell themselves. If you can clear up all that, you can do anything.
yeah.
And that is what I was able to show myself this last year of, like, once I got out of my own way, I was totally different than I had ever been before.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I was in the middle, like I left my husband, we moved across the country, I bought a new house by myself. So there's a lot of things that came with that, but I was really became empowered, realizing that I can do this. I can, and my business reflected, I can do this. I can create this way. And it was, I don't know, it was just really cool to be an observer of that, but also be on the inside of it.
On the end of it. Yeah. I'm glad you
Mhm.
shared that. Thank you for going there, because I know sometimes we as women, we struggle with that balance. Well, if I'm successful in my business, then I'm not going to be seen as a good mom, or I'm not going to feel like I'm
Right.
giving quality time, or I'm going to be so busy in my business I can't show up with my kids. And that's absolutely not true. Like there's
Right.
this beautiful harmony that you can have in your business where, yeah, you're going to have the ebbs and flows where some days you're more momming and doing that piece, and some days you're more focused on the business and you've got calls or conferences or clients,
Right.
different things like that. But you can have both. It doesn't have to be an either or. I
Right.
I was talking with a client a couple months ago, and she made a comment kind of like how you started your story. She's like, but if I make more money in my business, I'm not going to be able to be a good mom because I'm going to be so busy serving my clients. And I had we had a big discussion around like what that belief was, because I think I've even had that at some points. If I'm too successful, will I be able to still balance and do all
Right.
the things that I need to do? And the answer is yes. It looks different. You bring in some extra help, you get a house cleaner, you
Right.
schedule, some of your weeks are heavier with clients and some are lighter so that you can spend more time with the kids. And it's about not necessarily always the quantity, it's the quality of the time that you spend with the family as well. But so
Right.
many of us struggle with like, I can't be too successful, because if I'm too successful, I'll get too big for my britches and I won't be able to show up as the way I need. And I see so many of us actually like blow that stat right out the window because it's so not true. We're able to
Right.
be successful business owners, and not women business owners, just successful business owners. Like we label
Right.
that like for heaven bid, like we're, you know,
We're part of the business
part
world.
of like, yeah, because we're allowed to do all the things that everybody else does as well. But
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that, and right. Like I can be a successful business owner and I can be a great mom.
yeah,
Two things can be true at the same time.
yeah, it's not either or. So if you're
No.
listening to this right now and you think you can't be successful, or if you are successful, you're going to be not the mom that you want to be. Because I know for myself, like I started my business because I was a single mom at the time. And I wanted more freedom and flexibility in my schedule so that I could go to soccer games. I could be there for checking my oldest son's 26 now. And it was just me and him the first 10 years of his life. And I had a lot of mom guilt when I worked retail management because I was working 60 plus hours a week and I was exhausted and I was stressed out. And I wasn't with him as much as I wanted to be. And then when I was home with him, because of the demands of my job, I felt like I was letting my team down at the store. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I can't be like, I just, it was like tug of war with on the inside of myself. And so when I started discovering like, what else could I do? How can I like, what would entrepreneurship look like? Can I start my own business? Is that even possible? Can I do that? Nobody in my family had ever done it. My parents sold Amway, but it was like a hobby for them. It wasn't, consistent income or anything. It was just something they were dabbling in and, playing around with. So I wasn't really sure if that was even possible. And then I found business coaching and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm basically doing coaching. I didn't even know coaching was a word at the time, which is hysterical now. Right. But back then the word coaching wasn't as big of a thing. But when I looked back at what I was doing inside my retail management career and HR training and development, and operate like the operations piece, I was like, oh, I've been coaching my employees this whole entire time. And I could just transfer that over into the business coaching side of things. And I had to learn more of the business side from a different viewpoint than what I was doing as far as like the inside operations for HR and retail. But I was like, it lit me up. I was like, oh, I can do this. And it doesn't mean it was easy the first couple of years. It definitely, there was growing pains. I was used to clients just being there and serving customers. I didn't know how to find them. That was a whole fun approach. Thank goodness I figured it out. But, we question, can we do all these things? And I really just wanted to be there more for that freedom and flexibility. And now I can I can tuck my kids in and I can go to a conference and enjoy the heck out of that too, and not feel the guilt anymore because it's on my terms, right? Versus somebody else telling me I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's been one of the things I've loved the most, is being able to, like, I work when my kids are at school and I take Fridays off and I'm done when it's time to pick them up, and I just get to be mom. And so I get to do both things, right? Like I get to be successful and I get to be super mom after school. And I love that. That's my dream life, is being able to do that. So being able to feel confident enough to set that up for yourself is important. And having the coaching and the guidance and the like clearing out of all of the chaos in your head about what you believe about yourself that isn't serving you is critical. So it's all very important pieces to the puzzle to help you be successful.
Yeah. The self-development books and the things that I read and the stuff that I do for success in my business has mostly been the inner work that I've done for myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily the courses or the business development stuff that I've done. Like those have all helped and, they move the needle, but the real work has happened, doing the deep work for myself to like getting clear on my worth and my value and how I can show up and that I can do whatever it is that I want to do. So I'm glad that you brought that into the conversation, because I think the number one thing we learn as entrepreneurs is that we have to work on ourselves first. And so the more we can work on ourselves, and it's a continuous practice as entrepreneurs too. I know every single client that I work with, prospect that I talk to, colleague, people I talk to on podcasts, like all of us are like, all right, what do I need to work on next for myself so I can take myself to that next level? That's where the work needs to be done. So it begins there. And you may have identified some of this in what we just talked about, but what does success truly mean to you? Like what does a successful life look like?
I really think it's living in your core values, like honoring your core values, whatever those are, and showing up really authentically. And if your core value is adventure, then it means that you are living a life of adventure. If your number one core value is spirituality, that it's that you are truly aligned and connected to your higher power. I think that so many people are out of alignment and out of balance with their core values, that they just go about life getting them met in cheap ways, and they're never really hitting who they are or what's most important to them. And I mean, money is part of that, right? Like, it's an abundance piece. It allows you to have adventures. It allows you to have experiences and connections with different people. But it's not a core value. Like, making money is not a core value. You make money to serve your core values. And so I think success is really when we live genuinely and authentically aligned with our core values.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that. You're like my soul sister.
Good.
I so couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Tiffany, this has been so fun. We're going to jump into rapid fire questions in just a minute. But before we do, can you share with us a little bit about, like, what are you up to in your business right now? And what type of clients are you serving at the moment?
So I am getting ready to start another round of our Brilliance Academy. And so I'm looking for people who want to coach, who want to serve in big ways, who want to be able to ask better questions. Our academy is 6 months of learning, and then it's 6 months of like intense business coaching. So it's a turnkey. We're going to build out your business once you've learned all of the components. We do your logo and all your branding and all of that stuff. And so that's where I'm at right now, is we're really working on who are our next students that are going to go through that year-long program with us. But I also, in a couple of weeks, I'm teaching a free Love Your Body boot camp. And that is so fun. It's 4 days. It's just kind of Facebook Live, not Zoom interactions. You just get to watch me. You can watch the replay. But it really helps you connect with your body, with your, your body is your vehicle through life. So if we don't love our body, we're going through life faking it most of the time then. So it's connecting to that, a lot of forgiveness, just connection is the biggest word that comes to my mind with that experience. So those who are feeling like, oh, I could really use a little bit of support here. I'd love to drop some of the baggage. I lost 75 pounds doing what I'm going to teach in this Love Your Body boot camp. And so that's always a big, like, people's eyes get really wide and they're like, yeah, I would like to do that and not have to go to the gym. Yeah, I didn't go to the gym while I did this. It was just internal work and processing stuff that I was carrying that I didn't need to be carrying. We're bag ladies, just learning how to set the bags down. So I'm doing that. But there's always something going on. So if you want to, connect with me or ask questions, if anybody is interested in reaching out, I'm always available for a conversation. I like people to interview me before they work with me to see if I'm a good fit for them, because I don't feel like you should ever be stuck with somebody. I feel like you should really make sure that things align and you feel connection. Because if I'm going to support you through some trauma and through some yucky stuff, I want to make sure that you trust that I'm your right person. So
yeah, I love that. It's I always say, it's when I jump on calls with people, it's not really a sales call, it's a conversation. So I can get to know you and you can get to know me, and we can see if working together is the right fit, because there's nothing worse than being in a relationship, whether it's with a spouse, a partner, a friend, a client, where it's just like the values don't align and there's not that deep connection. So I love that you invite people in for that. So if you're listening and that spoke to you, like, reach out to Tiffany and connect with her, because that's such a beautiful conversation can happen, and you'll never know where it will take you.
yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm going to ask you some fun questions just to kind of get to know you on a little bit of a deeper personal level. They're going to be super scary. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm ready.
I'm always super curious, because since COVID's happened, I watch way too much TV compared to what I used to. So are you binge watching anything currently? And if so, what?
Yes, I am watching for like the 4th time Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
Like, it's just dumb and funny. And I like Leslie Knope is my spirit person. And I just laugh. I just laugh. I've watched a lot of serious dramas, and I come back to the comedy. Like, it's just light. I can watch a couple episodes before bed, or 7, whatever. Like
7.
when it starts to say like, "Are you still watching?" I want to be like, "Mind your own beeswax, Netflix. I am still watching."
Don't judge me.
Right? Like, go back,
Like,
carry on.
you're like, it's 2 a.m. and I have to get up in 4 hours. But yes, let's
Right.
do one more because I need to find out what's going to happen. Those darn cliffhangers.
No, I don't usually binge watch, but not feeling well over the holiday and just like I had to lay in my bed and just get better. I turned it back on, and now I'm sucked in, and I'm in like season 4, and there's 7 seasons, and I just have to finish it because you can't stop it in the middle. Like, you've got to get through it. So yes, that's currently my secret obsession.
I don't get the TV in my house during the day between the husband and the kids. Like, I just give up. So usually my husband wakes up super early for work. So I'll usually, once he falls asleep, I'll binge watch something. And it's sometimes one episode, sometimes more. I won't, sometimes I'm like, go to bed, Darlene.
Yes.
But Schitt's Creek was my like funny fun one. Like, I think I want to watch it again. I was just thinking about it the other day with somebody else I was talking to, and I was like, that one, like, I was like giggling, and my husband would wake up and like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, oh, go back to sleep. Sorry. I'm like,
that's funny.
Yeah. Are you reading anything currently? A book on the nightstand or a book that you can recommend?
Oh gosh, I always have like 10 books on my nightstand. But I am listening to You're a Badass at Making Money. I feel like you should be listening to a wealth consciousness book every single day, or reading from it every single day as an entrepreneur. It continually is putting good stuff. And so that's the one that I am, it's going in the background constantly.
That one is amazing. I was just listening to it, the audiobook, when I was driving to Vegas back in November for a conference. I listened to it on the drive there and back. I'm like, so good. I'm like, I need all the mindset. That and Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Dunfield Thompson.
I haven't listened to that one. I'll have to.
That one's a great one as well.
Okay. Yeah,
and then if you could say one person who has made a huge impact on your life, who would you name and why?
Not a famous person, but it's my dad. When I was 14 years old, I called a boy, and we were not allowed to call boys, my sister and I. That was against the rules back in 1994. And my consequence was I could either quit the cheerleading team, or I could read a book of my dad's choice. And I had just made the cheerleading team, so I was not going to quit the cheerleading team. And so I'm like, sure, I'll read your dumb book. Like, how bad can this be? And the side part to that was I had to write a report on every chapter and turn it into him every other day. So one day was reading and one day was writing. And the book he chose was Awaken the Giant Within. And it's like, that thick. And that was my first personal development book. And as a parent now of a 14-year-old and multiple other ages, I think how smart. Like, he could have kicked me off the cheerleading team, but what would that really have taught me for this silly calling the boy thing? Like, what was the consequence really? Like, he gave me a lifetime of, now I'm intentionally choosing different things. And that started this personal development journey of, I'm in control. Like, I can't blame things on people anymore because I've just read this book and I know that it's true now. And so can you imagine being 14 years old and being super accountable to what you think and what you believe about others? And that was, so I've really always had a ton of respect for my dad and the way that he chose to parent me. And from that point on, what it looked like, that, I don't know, he's kind of my hero.
Yeah, that's some kick-ass parenting right there.
Yeah.
Like, I love
my daughter totally hates it because now she is 14 and I'm like, what do you choose, sis? Like, what do you want? And she's really frustrated about it. But
I can't wait for her to get the same assignment that you got and see what she learns from it, though, so that she can.
I know. I secretly am waiting for her to also get in trouble because I'm like, it's coming. Tony Robbins is coming.
It's for sure coming at some point because.
Oh yes.
# teenager life. Like, of course, that we have to discover for ourselves. We have to push our limits and see what we can.
Yeah, but I mean, think about that. This is a consequence, not a punishment, and think of how better she's going to be as a result of that. Like, can you imagine if everybody parented that way, where it was really about helping them become better on the other side of the consequence instead of go to your room for 2 hours? What are they really learning? How are they really becoming any better than they were before by isolating them? So,
And it's bad enough that they're watching, 2 hours of TikTok and YouTube every day to like,
I don't do that in my house.
brain.
Yeah, my house is not a TikTok, YouTube house. So my kids think I'm the worst already because I don't allow it, but they don't need that.
I just recently discovered that, because my kids don't have TikTok, but my daughter has found that you can watch some of the videos on YouTube. And I'm like, well, how are you watching TikTok? Why? I'm like, that's a TikTok. And she's like, oh, they're on YouTube too. And I'm like, okay, so now we have to like watch closer what she's watching. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, we won't go off on this tangent because I could totally go off on a tangent right now. But
I know, I could too. Parenting.
We'll have
parenting another thing.
Yeah, we'll have a whole conversation about that next time.
Okay, sounds good.
If you could travel anywhere in the world today, where would you go?
Restriction free. If I could travel anywhere in the world.
Restriction free. Pretend like we lived in like, pre-pandemic times.
I turned 40 this last year and I really wanted to go to Europe for my 40th. I just really wanted to go experience the beauty and the culture of Europe. So that would be, I think, my first place that I would go.
Perfect. Let's pack our bags. We're going. And my last question for you is, what does attract and stand out mean to you?
I think it's about being who you are unapologetically and, not being worried about what anybody else thinks. And you automatically draw people to you because people are attracted to authenticity. It's brave, it's bold, there's courage there. And a lot of times if they don't have the courage to get there and they see it in someone else, it opens them up to, oh my gosh, if they can do it, I can do it. I think there's just a beautiful power that comes from attract and stand out.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tiffany, so much for being here and sharing your journey and your story and just connecting with me. I so love these conversations, and it's been an absolute honor to talk with you. I know people are going to want to connect with you and get to know you better. Where do you like to hang out? Where do you want them to go?
So I'm on Facebook. You can find me, Tiffany Lovell, facebook.com/Tiffany Lovell. You can also, I've got a free gift if anybody is wanting to really still set their new year up. We made a beautiful journal that you can download, and it's at reclaiminglightgift.com. It's like a 32-page, beautifully done journal that will help you set your year up for success, choose a word, set some goals, reflect on the previous year. So you can go snag that there, and then I'll be able to be in touch with you. But you are welcome to just send me a message on Facebook, and let's set up a time to talk if you want to dig a little bit deeper or see what else is possible.
Amazing. Go download it. There's nothing better than a good journal session. Like, that's my absolute favorite thing to do, especially if I'm in just a space where I have too much in my brain. That sounds lovely. Tiffany, thank you so much. It's been another fun episode on the Attract and Stand Out podcast. Remember, everyone, I believe in you. You're allowed to stand out. You're allowed to shine. You're allowed to be you. We'll see you next time. Bye.